Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We're back again with more Black Geyser content, and this time I wanted to talk about the companions. There's a lot of them throughout the game, and I know some of you might be concerned about making sure you're able to pick all of them up. Hopefully, this video will give you some information you didn't already have. Couple of notes before we get started. First and foremost, I will not be spoiling anything about the party members as far as specific quests that you have to do in order to recruit them or quests that they ask you to do after they've been recruited. I will note if a quest is required to recruit them, however, and I will give a couple of tips on how I think you could try to build them up successfully. Also, for the most part, companion names are not spoken, so it's very possible that I'm going to mispronounce some of the names of the companions we'll go through. And if I do, I apologize. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So as part of the main quest, you're going to come to a place called Merchant's Road. And when you get to the middle of Merchant's Road, you're going to find the smoking wreckage. And at the smoking wreckage will be Helgenghar. You don't have to do anything special to recruit him, just talk to him and he'll join your party. Now, once you have him in your party, you'll notice that you're able to level him up. All of the potential companions you can recruit have a base level, meaning that if you are, let's say, level 4 and Helgenghar is level 1, the game will automatically give him a couple of level ups you can do to make him more equal to where you're at. That means this is not a game where you have to scour the entire map and recruit the party members as quickly as possible because you're terrified of them being maxed out and a bunch of terrible choices being made regarding their builds. Usually, whenever you recruit a party member, the game will add 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 levels to them to get them up to a certain point. Now, mind you, all party members are not equal to your level. Some will have less levels than you, some will have more levels than you, but the game will always try to give a little bit of padding to ensure that they're closer to your level and that you have more flexibility and control over what their build is. Now, taking a look at his build, Helgenghar is a dwarf fighter. Dwarves get an additional 12% damage when they're using war clubs and hammers and battle axes. So if you look at weapons, you'll see he has levels in both of them. I would recommend that you level him up in battle axes because there's a later companion we're going to get to that I feel like works better with war clubs and hammers. You could do whatever you want for his general skills and class skills. There are other people who are going to be leveling up bargain and persuasion, so you could do it for him, but it's really not necessary. And then as far as class skills, I regularly leveled him up in Seasoned Warrior, and I can't remember a situation where I was really glad I had it. So honestly, I would say you probably want to go ahead and focus on Command Company instead, so you can work early on those party-wide boosts. As part of the main quest, you're going to have to come to the Market Street. When you reach this section of the Market Street, you're going to see two men having a heated debate with a Rillo. You can either resolve this violently or non-violently, but either way, once it's resolved, you'll be able to recruit Siracca. Looking at her character screen, she is a Rillo cleric. General skills, she's already got that +5 in brewing and drying. I would say you should continue with that. As far as class skills, I would say you want at least 7 points in Tend to Wounds. Now, there are actually a couple of different skills beside Tend to Wounds that also increase how much health the party gets from camping. So I would say just total across the party, you want 6 or 7 points in this. That doesn't mean Siracca needs to put 7 points into Tend to Wounds. You can decide for yourself what the best breakdown is. Abolish curses is really useful, but not until the end game. There are some top tier items that require you to remove a curse from them in order for you to be able to use them. You can bring cursed items to the temple and pay money to have it removed, but that is very expensive, and it is more expensive depending upon how cursed the item is. And of course, the better the item, the stronger the curse that's on it. So you can make a decision based on that, whether or not Abolish Curse is something you want to invest in. And then finally, in the weapons area, I would say you either want to go staves or small blades. Siracca, one of her very best heals is an area effect that happens right around her. And so you really want her up front so she can make sure she catches your tanks and your off tanks in that. I feel like you probably want to go small blades because rods and staves are really the very best for casters. They add intelligence and sometimes intelligence and focus. And I feel like some of the other characters you might get, like your spell weaver, would make more use of the intelligence boost than Siracca can. Again, at the Market Street, you're going to find the Crooked Haggler. When you enter the Crooked Haggler for the first time, you're going to see 3 men. You can resolve this situation in any way you see fit. After you get through, you are able to recruit the character. Bjalla is a Theldagug spell weaver. She comes with a whopping 15 in intelligence. For her general skills, she's already got an 8 in learning and research. She can scribe spells from scrolls, so I would definitely recommend you keep going with that. For class skills, if you already have another mage-like character on your team, then I would say you should have them level up magical perception, which is going to allow your team to be able to detect magical traps, and then have Bjalla focus on arcane studies, which is going to increase the amount of elevated energy level spell slots that she has. Very, very useful for her. More than likely, she's going to be your bomber, throwing down the fireballs and the chain lightnings and things of that nature. So the more slots, the better. As far as weapons, she comes with a 3 in rods and staves. As I mentioned before, rods and staves are the best weapons for spellcaster type characters. However, she only has a 6 in physique, a 4 in dexterity. She is not built at all to be on the front lines. You do have the flexibility to give her a couple of powers that will provide a defensive boost. But for the most part, I found it very irritating every time she ended up running towards the front line and then gets hammered. So you can make a decision about whether or not you're okay with leaving her here or if you want to give her something that's more ranged. I did come across some throwing weapons. They're not nearly as plentiful as the melee weapons, and it seemed like they were limited use. So it could be kind of annoying, to be honest, depending upon this, but they're definitely out there. My Convoker used slings the entire game, and it was no problem right up until the end, where it was very, very difficult to find more stones to throw. So you can find slings, but the stones to throw them can get scarce towards the end. I didn't use Foosterballs at all, so I can't really comment on that. Within the Iselbright area, you'll also find the Greybark Square. When you come into Greybark Square, if you walk a little bit into this area, a scene will automatically start where a man is running away from a couple of people who believe he stole something from them. Resolve this situation in whatever way you see fit, as long as the man lives, and then afterwards, you'll be able to talk to him and recruit him. Hamlin is an elf thief. Elves get an additional 15% to damage when they're using bows and arrows, and an additional 10% to damage anytime they're using a weapon that is made of wood. And if you go to his weapons here, he already has a +2 in bows and arrows. I would definitely say you should get that all the way up to 15. In addition, under general skills, you'll see he has a couple of points in bargain and persuasion. Even though it's less than brewing and drying, I would say you should focus on bargain and persuasion and take advantage of that 8 he has in charisma. It's not crazy high, but it's higher than a lot of your other party members. And frankly, I can only think of one point in the game where Hamlin's bargain and persuasion wasn't high enough for me to be able to pass the check. And even then, I just switched out some of his gear and it would still be fine. Looking at class skills, I focused on pick locks to be able to open those locked doors and chests, and disarm traps so that he would be able to see mechanical traps and be able to disarm them once they've been spotted. And then as far as the abilities that you get, honestly, all of them are pretty good and have their moments. Yeah, this one that will actually flat out stun and silence the target. So this is great to use against spellcasters right at the beginning of the fight. You will probably not see your next party member for a long time, maybe even 10 to 15 hours. But once you get to the Moonstone Clearing as part of the main quest, and then once you reach this section of the Moonstone Clearing, you're going to see a man up ahead with a weapon and a shield. Now, keep something in mind. Right now, we have a full party. So if you talk to this character and ask him to come into the party, he'll let you know it's full and that you have to kick somebody out before you can bring him in. He is not considered a party member until you kick somebody off the team and actually bring him onto the team. And this is important to note because party members, when they leave the team, will all go to the tavern where we recruited Bjalla. But if you don't actually bring him onto the team so that the game registers him as part of your team, then you'll have to come all the way back over here in order to be able to recruit him. So even if you don't plan to use him long term at this time, kick somebody off. Usually when you kick somebody off, they stay standing right here anyway. So you kick somebody off, you talk to him, you bring him onto the team, and you'll know he's registered because he gets those level ups. And then you can go ahead and kick him right back off, talk again to whoever you want to bring back onto the team, and then go about your business and do what you want to do. Arvex is a human Highlander who has a 14 on dexterity and a 14 on physique. So he's absolutely built to be able to handle problems. Highlanders get an additional 20% damage boost with war clubs and hammers, and they get an additional 15% chance to knock down with war clubs and hammers. And he comes with a 3 in war clubs and hammers, so I would absolutely recommend that you keep going with that and level it up all the way to 15. As far as general skills, you can do whatever you want. And then as far as class skills, if for whatever reason you didn't level up Helgenghar for Command Company, then I would say you definitely want to go ahead and do that with Arvex. And then when it comes to spells and abilities, I think it depends on the role you have him for. If you're going to keep Helgenghar in your party as the tank, which I did, then you're probably not going to give him Challenging Howl and have him taunting a lot because that's what Helgenghar is for. So therefore, I focused on Prolonged Berserk to give him that enraged status, help him do even more attack damage, and just be an absolute force on the field. As part of the main quest, you'll need to come to the Valley of the Singing Trees. In that map, you'll see the Windswept platform, where you'll have to complete a quest in order to be able to recruit the Sea Hag. So once you actually recruit Sea Hag, you'll see that she's a restless undead druid. And when you see that, you're probably thinking, oh man, that's cool. I can't even choose to be an undead. So it'll be interesting to see what you get from it. But as far as I can tell, it's just a whole lot of negatives. I don't see anywhere where you get something positive from the race, but I see a whole lot of negatives in the resistances. Illusion and manipulation, negative 30%. Arousal effects, negative 30%. Depressive effects, negative 30%. Slashing, negative 20%. I don't understand the reasoning for this. Why are the undead susceptible to arousal effects? But that is the case. So I would say she's actually a horrible upline fighter. You definitely want her in the back. Now, because she is a druid, she gets a plus 15% duration boost on her spell. So that means she's definitely the person you want casting buffs and debuffs for your party. Looking at the weapons, again, you want her in the back. She does start with a +2 on slings and balls. For class skills, you can again pick anything you want. It's basically the same conversation as what we had with Siracca. And then same for general skills. You'll basically have to choose what you want based on your party. More than likely, obviously, you're going to want to go with brewing and drying since she starts out with an 8 in that particular area. As part of the main quest, you're going to come to the Garden of Delights. And then if you come to this section of the Garden of Delights, you're going to see a man named Phimm. Talk to him and you'll be able to recruit him. Phimm is a human swindler, which means he gets a 15% boost to damage when using small blades. And when you look at his weapon skills, you'll see he already has a +3 in small blades. If you look at his class skill, you'll see he's been leveling up hide and sneak and steal and plant items, both of which I believe are useless. So I would have him working on pick locks and disarm traps immediately, unless you're going to keep both him and Hamlin in your party at the same time, which might make sense. For general skills, he's a lot more skilled in bargain and persuasion than anybody else that you're going to pick up. And he has a massive 14 in charisma. So he should absolutely be able to handle any persuasion that you need in the game. Also, he's going to get a damage boost against any enemies that are afflicted. So if they have stunned or poisoned or anything of that sort, he's going to get a damage boost against those type of enemies, as does Hamlin. I don't remember if I actually mentioned that, but both of them, anytime for the most part your enemies are debuffed, they're going to get a damage boost against them. I think the only debuff that doesn't count for them is burning. Otherwise, they absolutely love it. As part of the main story, you're going to unlock Emmanuel's Horde. Keep in mind, you do not have to go here as part of the main story. So this entire area is a side quest that you have to actually choose to visit. At some point, you will reach Emmanuel's dungeon. And when you see this area, you'll notice that there's a woman standing there. Talk to her in order to be able to recruit her. Jade is a human necromancer. So the necromancy class automatically builds up the health and damage of your summons, along with the effectiveness of your damage over time powers. As far as class skills, if you can have her focus on arcane studies, it helps because then you can give her more slots for her summons or whatever you prefer to use her on, and then have another spellcaster focus on magical perception. Basically the same conversation we had regarding Bjalla. And then as far as general skills, I would say keep going with learning and research. As a necromancer, she is able to scribe spells from scrolls, so you definitely want her to be able to do that. That is the complete list of permanent companions that you get in the game. Hopefully you all found this information useful. If you have any questions, by all means, leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to clarify in any way that I possibly can. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like down below, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.